Hi, welcome to my first YouTube video or attempt thereof. So I did a stream today about what bugs me about finding a new streaming phone in late 2022. And I talked about so much stuff, and through my research, like I did like so much research, less Googling and YouTube videos and everything, and I was quite surprised that there is nothing out there that really addresses all of my needs, and I swear I bet those are not only my needs. Other people who vlog or live stream on their smartphones as well, and there's like no like guide or just like rant about, okay, what's the problem with smartphone streaming, the smartphone, finding a smartphone that you can live stream on in today's market. I felt very alone with that. And so, hi, this is my amateur video where I just rant about that kind of shit. I'm Greta, by the way, and telling now for my starting point. So where I'm at right now. So I'm using a Google Pixel 3 XL right now. One that I bought, as far as I know, used in earlier this year, in spring this year, for around 220 euro. Yes. This was a big step up for me. Like, a friend of mine recommended it to me, and before I had a Huawei P20 Lite, I think, and also tried my first mobile streaming attempts with that. And my main problem with that was exposure issues on the selfie cam as well as the rear camera. And so basically, whenever like exposure issues, specifically when you stream outside, as it's kind of like in the nature of mobile smartphone streaming, and specifically when the sun is kind of like behind you, but even if like you kind of change your angle towards the sun, like it reconfigures the exposure and your image goes from like pretty dark to like pretty bright, and if it does that every 3 seconds, your stream becomes unwatchable. So that was the major issue why I want to, and also like battery was of course also an issue, but these were just my first few attempts. So I upgraded to, this is a phone from 2018, just to let you know, this is already 4 years old. Big step up. So my biggest discovery in this one was it has dual selfie cams. It has one normal selfie cam and one ultra wide angle selfie cam. Here is the issue. Like, I'm using a gimbal. Because I tried to just do it with a selfie stick one time, and it just became unwatchable. I think the Huawei doesn't even have electronic image stabilization, which basically, if you're not familiar with that, is simply like, okay, when the image in a video shakes, like the algorithm kind of like crops a little bit of the image, it kind of like zooms in. So you have like a smaller field of view, and it kind of like it computes, oh, where are the movements going to be, and therefore it like balances the movements, so you have like a more stable image. You know that principle from like action cams, which are where basically the entire selling point of theirs is like image stabilization while you're having some heavy action going on. Yeah. Basically, that's electronic image stabilization is when it's based upon like software solutions. There's also optical image stabilization where it's literally just, okay, the lens itself, as far as I understand it, is literally the lens itself is moving. So a lot of IRL streamers, and specifically like OG IRL streamers who use like the backpacks, like the big bulky backpacks, use action cams. Specifically one specific Sony model, whose name I'm now not remembering exactly. It's that wide, it's like a wide, relatively slim, relatively small. So like basically like a not like a GoPro where it's like, okay, it's relatively flat, but it's like relatively slim. And yeah, it's like a 4K 60 FPS action cam. And there the big thing is like, okay, hey, it has good image quality, pretty good low light video quality, and it has optical image stabilization, which is like, hey, yeah. And so where do I want to go? So yes, so I'm using a gimbal. Yeah, here's the thing. When you use a gimbal in comparison to a selfie stick, and you don't want to walk around like literally like your arm is literally extended like this all of the fucking time, which, I mean, if you have some experience of mobile streaming, you already know, okay, your arm you're holding your smartphone with, like the selfie stick, your gimbal, whatever, with, will get tired. And especially if you do it the first few times, it will hurt pretty fast. Yeah, so also, especially when you're in like a crowded area, you don't just want to walk around like this all of the time, and because someone might hit you, and that's not cool. Also, it just looks like a little bit goofy. I mean, you will look goofy when you do like IRL smartphone, IRL streaming in general, but you know, there are still some like, okay, hey, you better get used to the goofiness, but you know, yeah, the pain doesn't go away if it's not goofy or not. So yeah, there are other reasons besides the goofiness that you might want to avoid that. So especially when you have a gimbal relative to a selfie stick, your camera, your smartphone will get relatively close to you. And yes, that is a blue eyes white dragon in here. I saw that in like a SoundCloud rap image. Someone had like a Pokemon card in a smartphone case, and it was pretty cool. And I thought, okay, hey, I should do that too. Yeah. So, and of course, the closer your camera gets to your face, the more it only will capture the face. So when I used this one with the gimbal for the first time, I was streaming in Cologne. I live in Germany, and I was really wondering why I could basically only see my face and like a little bit of the stuff around me. And I mean, vlogging, streaming is about, okay, of course you show yourself, but also your surroundings, like what's going on behind you, what's going on around you. That's like 80% of everything, 90% of everything. And yeah. So when I discovered here the dual front-facing cameras, one of the ultra-wide ones, and I'm gonna show you the difference. And I know this is not really professional, first YouTube video, remember? It was like mind-blowing how much more you could actually see. And also, here's the thing. Here's something I want to show you. There is a difference between camera field of view and video field of view. And this is not just, at least on this phone, and I think on a lot of other phones as well. I don't know how it is in the current generation of phones, like Google Pixel 7, 7 Pro, for example. But you generally have a wider field of view with your camera, specifically your selfie camera. Maybe also your rear cameras, versus when you want to shoot video with them. And that is independent of electronic image stabilization. So I will show you now, right here. This right here is the normal camera angle. Yeah, that's Mao. Oh god. But when you now go to video, this is the video angle, which is much narrower. And then you go into ultra wide video, and you basically are back again at what before was your normal, oh god, what before was your normal photo field of view. There's like not much difference between because you think like, oh yeah, the photo field of view of the normal camera, plenty, it's enough. Bam, you go into video, hey, all of that is cropped in. And this is, I have electronic image stabilization turned off now. So yeah, with EIS enabled, it's like even more narrower. So ultra wide selfie cam, very important, in my opinion. There's also the other solution, which is external lenses, which I actually got for this one before, but of course there was still the overexposure issues. Also like external. So there are like external lenses which you can kind of like clip in front of the normal lens of your phone. You can have like fisheye lenses, you can have like macro lenses, you can have like ultra wide lenses. There are even like telephoto lenses. Like there is a lot of stuff. That doesn't solve the overexposure issues that are internal to the camera itself. It will probably even make them worse, because it will let in, like, you will capture more than the lens is even supposed to capture. So it will probably make the overexposure issues, I don't know if I tried that, but it will probably even make them worse. Yeah. So, and then there's the second point, which is if you have a gimbal. By the way, a gimbal, you probably know what a gimbal is. It's basically like something like a selfie stick, but you can put your camera in there, your phone in there, and there are little motors, like the little how do you call that? I'm not having, like, the word just won't appear in my mind right now, but there are little motors that are flexible. And those little motors like algorithmically compute how your movement is going to be and will mechanically balance your phone so that basically no matter how you move your hand, your phone will stay like in one, not in one place, but like will not go like this, but will always like be stable. So you have a somewhat stable image, and it really does a very, very good job. The problem with that, of course, is you have another thing to worry about with battery. Depending upon what kind of gimbal you have, you may run into software problems sometimes. I have a Hohem X Steady or XI Steady. I don't know the exact name right now. It was around like 90 or 100 bucks when I bought it. And the big selling point of that was it's super small. I can show it to you. So this is it in its folded form. So you get like a little tripod on here with it as well. And basically, I can show you really quickly. Basically, you fold it out right here, and you put your smartphone in here, and then like these motors right here, they will stabilize your phone for you physically. And then you hold it like this, but you see you don't have like much extension other than with a selfie stick. There are also gimbal models like from DJI. The DJI Osmo, I think, Senyu, or I don't know how they're pronounced, also offer a model now that have like an integrated selfie stick. So that basically you can, this element here has like an extendable selfie stick, and it will still do the stabilization thing for you. Here's the thing. It's with like a lot of problems, like for example the field of view. How do you respond to the field of view problem? You can have multiple pathways of countering that, multiple solutions. One of them can be use a selfie stick, but then these solutions may create their own problems. And of course you can then say, okay, oh, but the mostly the further away your phone will be from you, the more shake you will have, and therefore the more unwatchable your stream will be. You can counter that with, okay, hey, you have a gimbal and a selfie stick combined solution. Problem with that is you will still have some of the physical issues of a selfie stick, which is, hey, if you walk around in crowds, it's annoying that people might hit your selfie stick. And then the problem is like, okay, if they just hit your selfie stick, they hit your selfie stick. It's not a big deal. Even if, for example, even if your selfie stick breaks or something, it's like, what is it? 20 bucks, 10 bucks? That's completely fine. A gimbal costs you between 100 and 150 bucks as far as my like research, or like, yeah, smartphone gimbals. And the thing is, because there are motors which are very, very sensible to like very tiny weight differences, if someone hits your gimbal, that's not good for the motors. And so you don't want that you have a somewhat delicate piece of technology in your hands there, which is then one more thing to care about, one more thing you have to worry about while you're vlogging, while you're streaming, where you really want as much mental energy and attention to be on the situation, on your stream. But like, you just want to forget about all of the technical workings. Like, just as with bitrate, for example, like you don't want to worry all the time, hey, is the bitrate gonna be enough where I want to go now? You just want to think, hey, where do I want to go? What can I do there? And then just soak up the situation. I mean, there is a big problem with like, okay, attention, and just dividing your attention between the situation that you are in and all of the things involved with streaming, which might vary from your streaming situation. Streaming is very different from, hey, do you have 1,000 people in your chat, or do you have like 2 people in your chat? That might be very, very different from your specific situation, but still, even I who like streams to, I don't know, 2 viewers or something, if it's a good day, it makes a huge, huge difference if I'm in a situation, specifically a social one, where I'm like surrounded by a lot of people, or where I'm like interacting with another person. If I do that on stream or off stream, it's a huge, huge difference. Like, and you want to have as much attention for your stream as possible, for the situation as possible. And so like the technical stuff should just be like, okay, hey, that's something that's there, that's taken care of, but then you can forget about it. Then it just works, and you just can rely on it, you forget about it. And yeah. Then thinking about battery, that kind of stuff, you know. Yes. So coming back to smartphone hardware. So for me, now I'm in the situation, hey, okay, the Google Pixel 3 XL, it's okay. It's okay. The one biggest thing I think that bugs me about this phone, or like the 2 biggest things, is is battery life. It's because it's a used 2018 phone. I mean, I didn't change the battery yet. I'm thinking about, okay, hey, do I go to like a service provider and ask them, hey, I pay you like 50 bucks and you change the battery? And I don't know how much that would make a difference, because the thing is, even if the phone isn't used, so like charged, battery drained, so even if it's not pre-owned, but even if it's a phone from 2018 and you buy it brand new, it has been sitting on shelves or like in a warehouse or something for these 4 years now. And in those 4 years, the battery capacity has diminished. Not like comparable to if it has been in daily use, but still, but I guess that the same is true for exchange batteries. Like, that, hey, those exchange batteries might have been produced in, I don't know about the technical stuff, if those are like specifically manufactured for Google Pixel 3 XL, or just like, okay, hey, it's the milliamp hour capacity battery standard size. I don't know about the technical stuff, but I guess those exchange batteries also have their years already, and therefore also have diminished capacity. And so this is a little bit speculation. That's the thing. And like when you're doing your research, you never have like complete knowledge, because the deeper you go, it's actually much more difficult to get like more accurate, more that specific kind of information that you're looking for. It gets more and more difficult. So yeah, I don't know how much exchanging the battery in here would actually do. The second thing, which is arguably worse, is it only has one rear camera. That's like a normal wide-angle lens. And specifically when I enter some kind of scenery, it really shows its limits of what it can actually show. So an ultra-wide-angle lens that could shoot video is something that I'm desperately looking for, that my next phone for streaming really should have. Yes. Here's the thing now. When you go into optical image stabilization, so if you want to say, hey, if you want to ditch the gimbal, if you just want to do like if you just want to use a selfie stick, why don't you just use image stabilization? So, electronic image stabilization, two reasons why you don't want to use them, or why it might be problematic, is crop picture. You want your maximal field of view, and the other thing, you don't know if it actually has software integration. I'm personally using the Prism live streaming app for a multiplicity of reasons that I'm gonna go into right now, like in a few minutes. But it's all like, you simply don't know if image stabilization, I think of any kind. I don't even know if you can disable optical image stabilization, to be honest. I have no idea. But at least electronic image stabilization, you can turn it off and on. And the question, will it even be usable in the kind of app that you're using? I don't know. In Prism, I don't have any kind of setting for turning off or on electronic image stabilization, so I don't even know if I'm using it. That's why if I'm using it, I would like to turn it off because I have the gimbal. I know there are other apps out there, and one of them, for example, that as far as I know a lot of streamers use, is Larry's Broadcaster, which I know has the option to, like, where you have like in the settings the manual control over EIS and OIS, and if you want to use them or not. But the problem with Larry's Broadcaster, at least for my use case, has been there has been the degraded image quality. So there's this thing called Camera API, which has to do with, okay, how does your camera hardware on your smartphone interact with the apps that you're using? Like, it's like a software, a programming thing. And what you will find is that your native camera app will always, on Android, almost always look better than if you're shooting like a story on Instagram, for example. This has to do with how the app addresses the camera API. I don't even know what API stands for, to be honest. And yes, that's one of the main reasons why for content creation, social media stuff, so many people use the iPhone, because the iPhone has a much better camera API integration where you don't have that issue of degraded camera quality. And let me tell you, like, you notice it. You notice it by a long shot. Like, much less intense colors, for example. And there is also, at least in some apps, I know in Larry's Broadcaster that's also the case, the option to choose which camera API of the smartphone you're addressing. But when I tried using, like, there also is like a warning that, hey, this is not the most stable camera API for working stuff. Yeah, for these workings, can have some problems, etc. When I switched to that, I could only use the normal wide-angle front camera and, okay, yeah, I can use the back camera, but I couldn't use the other wide-angle front camera, the ultra-wide front camera. I have no idea why. Normally you can like cycle through all of those 3 ones, like on my phone, but there I couldn't. And I was like, hey, yeah, that's kind of like not the point of the thing. Which is basically why I use Prism. Because Prism has, I don't know how it does it. I don't know if it uses this other camera API. I have no idea. But it, by standard, has the best image quality. I don't know if it's still not degraded. I'm not sure. But it has, from all of the streaming apps that I've tried, which is Streamlabs, Stream Elements, Larix Broadcaster. Oh god, what have I also on here? Like other apps. Yeah, those are like the main ones that I've tried. I've tried like a couple of other ones, I think, which are a little bit more obscure. But I mean, those are the native Twitch app. But I mean, the native Twitch like mobile streaming function sucks ass, like for real. Like I think nobody uses that. I think they have that as like an alibi function, that like people can play around it a little bit, around with it a little bit, and then if they actually want to like do something for real, you can do something more serious. And yeah, yeah. So, and that's why I'm using the Prism app. I also noticed that when I used Prism versus, there was a time when I used Streamlabs, and there's a variety of like feature differences, yeah, between those apps, with like differences in possible customization, in like, for example, reconnection, like that you have like automatic reconnection when you lose your mobile connection. There's some stuff like simply, for example, the function, hey, can you like, how cluttered is like your UI? How much of your screen is literally used by some UI elements, and how much do you see of yourself, of your stream? And that's also why I like Prism. Prism is very minimalistic. Like the overlay integration is great. In Streamlabs, as far as I know, you can only use like Streamlabs overlays. Normally I use Stream Elements, which is super annoying then, blah, 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 blah. I had to create like extra Streamlabs overlays for that. And then, yeah. There's a lot of stuff. If you've been dipping your toes into that, you will see it's very annoying. Yeah. So what leads me this to? Yes, which leads also to the problem. If you try out smartphones, for example, in the store, like I recently, I watched like so many reviews, like vlogging reviews and everything. All of that is done on the native camera app. All of that. You never can properly know how will this previewed the native experience translate into the app experience, depending on the app that you're using. Yeah. And you can't just go, like, even if you go into a store and like want to check out, okay, hey, if I hold the phone like this, and how is the field of view for that? Like, this is somewhat my distance that I will hold it in if I'm like live streaming. Is that enough for me or something? Like, I tried that out, and but it also, it will never really give you the experience of, hey, you actually try it out in like one-to-one, the use case that you want it for. That's never really possible. Yes. Oh my god, I didn't even got to the whole problems with finding a streaming phone in 2020, in late 2022. Let me drink something really quickly. I will not cut that out. It's my first video. Okay. So now I've been searching. Now I've basically jumped ahead here a little bit because I already listed a good chunk of problems that you have when you try to find like just some general problems that you're fighting with when you search for phone, or like when you try to do mobile IRL streaming in general. But this makes sense because it ties into the hardware problems that I'm going to talk now. So the main feature of the Google Pixel 3 XL, it's two selfie lenses, which allows you a pretty good field of view for mobile streaming. Like the image quality could be much better, to be honest. Especially it's like there's like a lot of noise, like basically not depending on the lighting conditions even. It's always super noisy, but you know, I'd rather like have like a washed out image or whatever. Like my image quality in the streams is not that, I'm streaming at 720p, so yeah. Better to have like that than like a super narrow field of view where you basically only see my face. Yeah. And it's super, super, super hard to find a smartphone with an ultra-wide selfie camera, or an ultra-wide field of view of the selfie camera in today's smartphone market. I recently bought a phone which is the Honor 50, which in previews had like it, and it has only one selfie camera, but in the native camera app you have the option of like two field of views, where the wider one is somewhat adjacent what I could see of the Google Pixel 3 XL. And I was like, hey, cool. This is kind of cool. It's like a mid-range kind of like phone, like 400, 500 bucks. And so I got it. I get it, installed Prism on there. Two problems. I could only use the narrower field of view on the front camera, and I could only use the main camera on the rear, the main rear camera. No ultra-wide access, nothing. And I was like, what is this? And plus to that, it had like so much exposure issues. Like it was that bad. And I was like, no, I'm gonna send this back. I want my money back. Like this is unacceptable. It was so much worse than the Google Pixel 3 XL. And it's like a phone from 2021. And yeah, you think like, hey, okay, this must be better. And yeah, so based on that experience and the one with the Google Pixel 3 XL, I was thinking, okay, hey, better to search for a smartphone that has like dual selfie cams, so that the likelihood that whatever app I will be using, most likely Prism, will be able to recognize and use both of these selfie cameras for video is like the highest. Like it looks like if you have like software like zoom out on the selfie cam, it's like difficult or like unlikely. I don't know, based upon that one case study that I have, the one kind of experience right now. Yeah, I only have like two phones to compare, so it's, but whatever, it's, yeah. And I've looked into a few phones, and there's, I don't know what's going on with smartphone companies these days, because like the dual selfie camera has almost vanished from existence. Like there are two models that I know of that still have it, and which is the Vivo V23, and which like if you look for Vivo V23 vlogging test or camera test on YouTube, like based upon in what languages the reviews are made, or like in which regions, like I feel like a lot of like a lot of reviews that I've seen were like from India or like from Southeast Asia, and so it doesn't even seem to be that like popular, that available on the Western market. And so you don't know that much about it. It's like it keeps very low level, and it's pretty expensive. It's pretty expensive for its like, it has like pretty not great processor. Yeah, video quality could really be better, and the microphones are like unusable. Like the Google Pixel 3 XL has like some very, very good internal microphones, and if you put like a windshield on them, on it, it's like that's all you need really, which is great. The more you have an all-in-one solution, the less likely that, oh, your dongle doesn't work. Like, for example, the external microphone that I used before on the Huawei one, the Huawei has like a 3.5 millimeter aux thing. The Google Pixel 3 XL didn't have that. It took me 3 fucking tries to get a dongle, a USB-C dongle, that also worked with that microphone. But now it comes. The microphone sounds worse with the with the dongle with the USB-C dongle on the Google Pixel 3 XL than it does on the Huawei. And I'm like, what's going on? What's going on? And so yeah, there are always these small things that really, the more you have an all-in-one solution, the less you have to worry about this stuff, the less risk you're risking. Yeah, the less risk you have. So yeah. And then the other smartphone that's currently available is the Honor Magic 4 Pro, which is a high-end device, which has like the Snapdragon 8 Gen 1 processor, which is like the best processor out there, which is Android. I think like the Apple chip is probably better, but like it's plenty. It's like the 8 Gen 1 processor is plenty. Because why is processor important? Here's the thing. This is something I don't know much about on technical level, but your smartphone does the encoding of your stream, which means it transforms the video data into a transmittable size to send it over your mobile network to the streaming provider. And because your smartphone is not a device that's like built for that encoding, it takes a lot of power. Like it takes a lot of like processing power, a lot of battery, that kind of stuff. This is also one of the reasons I think, but I'm also pretty sure, that people use like backpacks for streaming. Because there people have like so-called hardware encoders, which are like devices like the LiveView Solo, the Bella Box. I think there's also another one that is there's so much more. But because there's also like the different protocols, like the standard one is RTMP, and the other one that's like coming more and more into usage is SRT, which basically gives you a much better image quality at much lower bandwidth. Therefore, also you have a much more secure and reliable connection. All of these very, very custom things you can do with with a backpack. But the thing is, a backpack is also incredibly expensive, and it's a backpack. That's the thing. You just have, at all times, you have an external backpack to carry. And if you go on adventure, you might want to use a backpack, like just for having stuff with you. And that means you have 2 backpacks, like one on the front, one on the back. And like that gets heavy and is exhausting. And it's also weird in interactions with people. And then you also have to have cables like from your camera that go into your backpack, like that, and that really, really inhibit your movement, that really like it's so much stuff that you have to think about. So much stuff that's making movement, that's making your experience of the entire situation so much more unnatural. That's the big and the cost factor, because it's also, you have to pay a monthly fee to like a service. It's always like, because these, you have to pay like a service provider, which basically, like, you send your signal to the service provider, and they send it to like Twitch or YouTube or something, and you have to pay for that. Like, they also take care of like overlay stuff, and plus your like mobile fees, like mobile data fee. That's a whole other issue that I also, it's difficult. You could talk about it also a long time. There's also something like where I don't have that much technical knowledge about it. But yeah, let's not get into like signal bonding, how much that costs you, what are the best solutions, blah. Let's not get into that. But yeah, all of these things that I just mentioned, with like, it just diminishes your experience, your natural experience, versus, hey, a smartphone is an incredibly convenient solution, versus the backpack solution. And yeah, that's the one case for the smartphone. And oh my god, coming back to, if you're still watching, thank you. The big thing about the Honor Magic 4 Pro that I just mentioned is that its selfie cameras and generally its video has huge exposure issues. Like, the biggest difference you have is when you have your smartphone and the sun is somewhat like somewhat behind you. And that's basically the what I mentioned in the beginning with the Huawei, which like bugged me. And it's really not nice, like, especially in Germany, which doesn't have the greatest weather. We often have the scenario where it's just kind of like a sealed cloud sky, and all of the sky is like gray white kind of thing, and then the exposure turns up so much that like the sky appears to be like completely white, just so that it gets enough brightness for everything around you. But I'm like, hey, the sky, and then you change like your angle a little bit where the sky is not that visible, and then turns down then turns the brightness up or whatever, and that happens like every 5 seconds, and it's just not cool to watch. And also, if I pay $800 for a smartphone, I want it to not have these issues, like, because other smartphones out there don't have these issues. That's just the case. And so yeah, I don't know why no smartphone company has yet made like a smartphone that's dedicated to vlogging, mobile streaming. I know that the Honor 70, like some parts of the Honor 70 marketing have been somewhat, hey, this is the mobile, this is your vlogging phone, because it has like this specific sensor on like this like new Sony whatever sensor, which is like the biggest sensor on a smartphone or something. But then like, bro, this is on the main sensor. Who in the world who's vlogging uses the main sensor? Everyone is using the ultra wide because you want to capture as much of the scenery as possible, and nobody seems to understand that. Or you have like dual view, where you have like, oh, you can use like every of your cameras and like record all of them together, and you can see like what's like somewhat like Be Real, but like in video form basically. So you have like front camera and one rear camera, or like all rear cameras, whatever, like split, and you have like a 4-part video, and it records all of that at the same time. And like, okay, hey, that's nice, but it even crops your field of view more. Nobody uses that. No, like, maybe it's a nice little gimmick, and for very specific use cases, you could use it, but nobody uses that to vlog. It's just not practical. Yeah, it just doesn't make sense. And also, nobody would want to watch a vlog or stream where you have two images that are moving, running at the same time, where you're like, your eyes go like from one picture to one picture. That just doesn't work. Nobody want to watch that. Nobody does want to watch that. And so the smartphone companies, like, we're a slave to you, and like, we don't have any other choice but to buy your stuff. I wish it wasn't this way, but then please, my God, give us at least like a smartphone that's like dedicated to that kind of stuff, like with a good processor, good battery, best with like good battery and fast charging, with specific attention to, okay, what kind of features does the processor need to have for stream encoding? I bet like encoding is also a thing when you're recording video, so I guess, like, because more people record videos than they stream videos, I understand that, but I guess there is like a bigger part of the market if you combine those two things. And sorry, yeah, and please give us a good. I'm not even asking for like the perfect image quality. I'm not even asking for that, because let's be real, like, mobile streaming is still a mess. Like, you will never get like if you stream with a smartphone at the moment, you will never get like perfect image quality. I mean, you even don't have that when somebody streams like a game or something, and they don't have like the 4090 or something. You will have artifacting happening here and there. That's normal. That's fine. But give us like a very, very, very acceptable ultra-wide selfie cam with a good field of view that we can vlog with. Same with like good ultra-wide normal camera. I mean, the dream would be if both of them were to be optical image stabilized. I have not seen yet. No, there is like one Vivo phone, I think the Vivo V20 is it, that has like an OIS in the selfie cam actually. But there, the problem is it's a normal field of view selfie cam. So, yeah. It's like, you were so close. You were so close. You had like a good idea with that. Like, yes, people vlog with their phones, and not everybody wants to buy a gimbal, or not everybody knows what a gimbal is. Not everybody knows that these things exist. And also, they look more goofy than I mean, okay, a selfie stick looks also goofy, but whatever. And yeah, it's so frustrating that you can't even find like the best phone on the market, or like the lineup of like the best phones on the market, which cost like over $1,000, which is an insane amount of money. Like, you can have like a really, really, really good PC for that. Like, I understand with smartphones you have like mobile data plans combined, you pay every month. Sometimes, like, if you don't buy them directly, then things get like much more affordable than to just hit like, bam, here, $1,000. But still, like, it's so frustrating. You go through all of these products, you spend so much time in like reviewing reviews, reading stuff, everything. Like, you gather so much knowledge, and then it's like, there still isn't a solution to that. And here it comes, like, there is a lineup of phones that do have most of these features, but these phones are all older. Like, one of the phones that I have on my radar right now is the Samsung S10 Plus, because it has a physical dual selfie camera, which is also quite good. But here the thing is, it has a battery isn't that great. As far as I know, it also doesn't really have fast charging, which would be like a trade-off, like worse battery, but if you have fast charging, that's completely fine. Like really good fast charging, but it doesn't have both of those, and like any of those. Then is another problem with the processor. Like on the one hand, it is a 3-year-old processor. It's from 2019. But then Samsung had 2 versions of them, which on one has the Snapdragon 855, I think. I'm not entirely sure, but it has a Snapdragon processor, and the other one has an Exynos processor, which is like Samsung's in-house processor. And from all of the things that I've heard and read and everything, the Exynos version is much inferior, like in battery performance and overall performance. And then I'm thinking, okay, hey, like in the version that was sold in Germany and like in Europe, as far as I know, had the Exynos one. So if I now go on the used market on Amazon and I'm gonna buy like a Samsung S10 Plus for around 350 euro, it's very likely I'm gonna get an Exynos one. And then the question is like, okay, hey, this is also the battery life, plus it's 3 years old. Is it worth it? And it's so sad that I have to go back 3 years to, because then the thing is like, okay, is it that much better than my Google Pixel 3 XL, which is just 1 year, which I know has a Snapdragon processor, and then I'm asking like, hey, okay, is the Samsung gonna make that much of a difference that I want to pay 350 bucks for that? And simply the fact that I have to go back 3 years to have like, okay, hey, this would be like an on-lock, somewhat okay solution for most of the problems that I've described right here, is just sad. Like, I know there are other solutions, like these 2 phones that I've mentioned, the Honor Magic 4 Pro and the Vivo V23, with all of the problems that I've mentioned about them. There are also a bunch of other phones that still have dual selfie cameras, which are all about like 2 or 3 years old by now. And it's much more difficult. Like, I know there's a Redmi X50 Pro, I think. I'm not sure. Like, you know, I had to go into YouTube and like a best ultra wide selfie smartphone or something. And you get videos, like, I'm not kidding, you get videos which are just like cuts of ads for these smartphones and made on like, I don't know, Windows Movie Maker or something. And I'm like, there is literally no, like, nobody's talking about these things. Nobody is like directing you. Nobody. I feel so like so alone. I put so much time into this, and it's so frustrating because I still haven't found a solution. And that's like, I just want to show and share my frustration, because I thought, okay, hey, this is, some people might find this useful. It's probably way too long by now, but whatever. I don't care that much. If you watched it, hi, please watch my streams. I don't even know if you'd like my streams, but whatever. And twitch.tv/Greta, or on this channel, I dual stream. And yeah, if you have if you have learned anything from this, if you have like the same problems and you are just, hey, I know more about this than you, here is some way that I can help you. Greatly appreciate it in the comments. Yeah, just, there really isn't like the smartphone for IRL streaming. There just isn't. And it's actually quite sad. Like, you would think at least one company would have thought about this and said, hey, you know, this is like a market niche. Like, let's just stack like one phone. Let's just talk to a bunch of IRL streamers and people who do like mobile content creation, see where there are overlaps in their needs, and just bam, slam all of the features in there. And that's it. But I guess nobody had the idea yet, or just hasn't done it, or for whatever reason. Like, yeah, it's just kind of sad. And as I said, every feedback is appreciated. Thank you. Peace out.